Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about my tips, or kind of like official tips, on safely bed sharing with a baby. So it's had a lot of bad press recently. There were a couple of stories in the news recently where they were talking about how sadly babies had died while bed sharing. What the news failed to mention when they were talking about this, I think it was last week, was that in those instances the parents, or one of the parents, had been drinking. I think in one of them they had taken drugs, and these are massive no-nos for if you are going to bed share. Also, there is a difference. There's co-sleeping and there's bed sharing, and often people get them confused and think they're the same thing. So co-sleeping is where you have sort of a next to me crib and you have like the side down, so it's like an extension of the bed then, but they're in their own space. And then there is bed sharing, where the baby sleeps in the bed with you and essentially with the mother. So what we do is we do bed sharing, and we didn't start out bed sharing. It wasn't my intention. We have, as you can see there, we've got a cot, which I know it's got little blankets around it, which is not very safe, but he doesn't sleep in there. But yeah, so we have a cot, and basically, yeah, he started off sleeping in there. That was the intention, but when I say sleeping in there, he didn't really ever get on with it. Squidge was formula fed and Dot is breastfed, and Dot wakes about every 2 hours for a feed through the night. And this really is where bed sharing comes in. It's often seen as a help for mums who are breastfeeding, because you can do this thing where you're lying down, you get your boob out, they just turn their head to the side, or you roll them onto their side, they feed and they go back to sleep. So it's less disruptive, you end up having much more sleep. But there are some really simple rules to follow if you are going to bed share. Number 1, if you have had any alcohol that night, do not bed share. If you have had drugs, do not bed share. And if you are a smoker, you must not bed share. These things can stop you from waking up properly and putting you into a deep sleep. So yeah, it's not good. You need to be able to rouse easily from your sleep if you're bed sharing with a baby. Rule 2, your baby should be a normal healthy baby, so not premature and not underweight or low weight or anything like that. They need to be a normal healthy baby. Number 3, also don't bed share if you're overly tired. Again, it's going to put you into a deep sleep and you're going to struggle to wake up. So you need to be just a normal, I say well-rested mum, there's no such thing as that, not if you have a baby. But yeah, you shouldn't be like overly excessively tired. So like, if you haven't had any sleep the night before and you hadn't napped in the day, maybe you want to think twice about it. Rule number 4, no other children in bed. Again, children I think can be quite heavy sleepers, and they won't know if they're like lying on the baby or anything like that. So yeah, so it just needs to be the parents in the bed, and obviously both parents need to be aware that the child is in the bed. When we first started bringing Dot into the bed with us, or when I did, I would always wake up my hubby and say, right, he's behind you, he's in bed, be aware. Rule number 5, I haven't really read this is my rule, but I always sleep facing the baby. And it's my unnatural side to lie on, but I always sleep facing the baby, because if I've got my back to him, I can't keep an eye on him, I can't make sure his airways are all clear and that there's no pillow near his face or anything like that. I can't, see that, obviously if I don't want to roll onto him, things like that. So I always sleep facing the baby. Rule number 6, move your pillows apart. So that there is a big space in the middle for the baby's head, so they're not going to be lying on the pillow. They mustn't be lying on the pillow, they must be lying completely flat, and there must be plenty of space between the pillows so that there's space for them. And also they need to be lying on top of the duvet, because the duvet is going to be a lot higher tog than they have in their sleeping bag, and they need to be in a sleeping bag, so in a sleeping bag on top of the duvet. Rule number 7, so they also need to sleep next to the breastfeeding mother. It's not advised if they're formula feeding to do this, because the formula because it kind of stretches and overfills their tummy, because they have it sort of like, it's quite a large amount in quite a short space of time when they have it from a bottle. It can really knock them out and make them really sleepy. That's why formula fed babies tend to sleep through the night more than breastfed babies. So yeah, so it's not advised if they're formula fed to bed share, but if they're breastfeeding, you can do it. as long as you follow all these rules, of course. But yeah, so the baby needs to be with the breastfeeding mother. And you can do the lying down feeding method if you're breastfeeding. So what I do, because I'm always lying on the side, I always actually feed just off the right breast in the night. He has his last feed at night from the left breast and his first feed in the proper morning with the left breast, and then he feeds on the right all night. And I literally just I shuffle him down the bed slightly and I shuffle myself up the bed, and then I get my breast out. He feeds from it while I'm lying on my side, but I'm awake. I'm kind of half perched up with my arm up. And once he's finished feeding, I put it away and I give him his dummy or whatever he wants, or if he's just back to sleep, I just leave him alone. I might shuffle him back up the bed so he's in a safe place in the middle, and then I just go back to sleep. So you do actually get quite a lot of sleep this way, but yes, okay, it's disturbed because you're breastfeeding, but that's fine. Rule number 8, if you have other things like long hair, try and make sure it's tied up and out the way so it doesn't go in the baby's face or mouth or airways or anything like that. Sorry if I'm looking down, I've got some notes. Just don't want to forget anything. Yeah, so any other sort of things like that, make sure that there's nothing that can get up in their face. And also don't lie them on their tummies as well. You need to remember to always put the baby on their back to sleep. It's not as bad when they can roll over back and forth, but even still, you should always lay them on their back to go to sleep. Even if they roll over themselves, make sure you're laying them on their back to be safest. And I think that's it. I think that's all the tips really for safely bed sharing. Again, just make sure there's plenty of space for them in the middle of the bed. There's nothing near their face, no pillows. Make sure they're in their own sleeping bag, next to the breastfeeding mother. Yeah, and obviously no drink, no alcohol, and no smoking. They are absolute no-nos. If you have, if you're a smoker, just don't. You can't bed share. If you've had a drink, don't do it, and obviously don't take drugs, and you shouldn't really take drugs when you've got kids anyway. Yeah, so there you go. So they're the tips for safely bed sharing when you've got a baby. Again, it's personal choice whether you're going to do it or not. It's completely up to you, but please do make sure you follow safe guidelines. I will link to some articles below on safe bed sharing practices and a bit more information behind it if you want to read a little bit more about it. But these are all the things that we do. You know, it does mean I get a bit more sleep this way, so I'm a bit more well rested, which is really good as well, because he does feed a lot in the night. He feeds, it depends, it could be every 1 hour, every 2 hours. It could be that the first stint is a 3-hour stint and then it's every hour for like 3 hours and then back to every other hour. It's all over the place, but I don't mind because it's only literally 5-10 minutes interruption and then we're back to sleep again. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you like it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my future videos. I've got loads of great content coming up planned soon, so if you don't want to miss it, click the bell on the subscribe box as well. I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.